Hey, Mahani Sparkles. I welcome you to Get to Know Each Other, which is part 2 and an add-on to my previous illumination video. But Mahani Sparkles, this is not about revealing a CV or something like that. No, definitely not. This is about communication within Unity and about how my channels as well as my works are intertwined, even though they seem as if they are not interconnected. But indeed, all is. Talking about my channels, as I said, they are not separate. On the very contrary, they all are deeply connected by a divine network. So it doesn't matter on which channel of mine you are or you have found me. All names are mine. It's all me. Journeying through the divine realms for the higher good, step by step, so to speak, translating everything and nothing. Maybe now, especially when you also have listened part 1, questions are maybe popping up like, huh? Why are you changing channels and names? Why are there just a few subscribers on each channel? Do you have more channels, and which are they? Why do you maybe hide them or yourself? Why do you only speak in English language even though you speak other languages as well? Etc., etc. And I can, of course, understand all those questions, and we are going into it, okay? First of all, I'm surely not hiding myself nor my channels, but I just don't like to mention myself or my other channels all the time or at all, just because of some marketing or the thing called algorithm. No, I just don't. But for what I do all this is you. I do it for you, my sparkling sisters and brothers. I'm doing it for all of us. See, generally speaking, showing thyself can be a distraction for the eye and for the soul. Not saying that I'm special or something, no, don't get me wrong, but I love to focus on the within without any external distractions. Humankind is easy to distract because, unfortunately, human beings generally don't use all their senses but their eyes only. And if you get distracted by the external, you can't stay by yourself. You can't focus on your healing. You can't focus on your within. Just because of your eyes, which always will find something, which leads your mind to stumble around, being everywhere and nowhere, but not within yourself. Okay? I'm not saying close your eyes, no. I'm saying use all your senses to arrive at your highest point of view, your highest potential, okay? To give you 2 simple examples which come into my mind. Let's go with a cat example first. Ever witness how a cat is hunting? I am sure we all did somehow, somewhere. So a cat on hunting is highly super focused, so focused actually that it seems like as if the cat freezes as long as she needs to. She doesn't get distracted by anything external at all, no matter what. And she also doesn't allow it anyways, because instinctively she knows that if she did, she would lose her prey, which she needs to stay healthy and to survive. And if you try to distract her, she's getting her revenge immediately, meaning you will possibly never try it again. No, that example wasn't about me, no worries. But in my teeny times, my bestie had many cats for a long, long time. And so I witnessed it from others who tried. Like, yes, I somehow grew up with them. However, a cat can very well differentiate between hunting time, chill time, lunchtime, cuddle time, and playtime, etc. They are very straightforward, and we can learn so much from them. But not only cats, it's the same for dogs, but with the difference that they can be easily distracted with just anything if they aren't very well trained. And if you have, for example, a Goldie, you know what I'm talking about. However, even though a cat, no, pardon me. However, even though a dog carries those instincts as well, they also need proper training to stay focused. Or if they don't get trained by their holders, for example, because they live on the streets, they get trained by the rough life. See, life is a circle. If one creature doesn't learn by themselves using their free will, they get somehow taught by nature, but then mostly in a harsh way. And we as human beings have the mightiness to decide and so to choose because of free will, even though we also carry surviving instincts within us. But hey, we can nevertheless be easily distracted anyways. So our trainings as beings with free will can be, for example, meditation, silence, art, sport, etc. And also here we have the great opportunity to be able to choose what feels good for our souls individually. Let's assume I show myself to you within my videos. By nature, your eyes will catch at least something. Doesn't matter what. Could be my eyes, my cheeks, my hair, my mouth, my teeth, my skin, my hands, ears, anything from my surroundings, so on and so forth. Whatever it is in that momentum, it can and will distract your mind through your eyes. What's going to happen by nature is that your mind drifts away from you and your thoughts wandering around somewhere miles away, meaning you are getting preoccupied with external matters instead of being present with yourself, which is then hindering your very own healing process. By the way, this is what we all experience, especially nowadays in which we all together witness wars, battles, rape, fights, violence, racism, starvation, housing instability, exploitation, abuse, lies, injustice, etc., etc. This list goes on forever. And all these distractions non-stop bumped onto us on a daily basis. To what? To get distracted by suspicious external someones and somethings, greedy forces who egoistically caused all that annoying struggling just like that. And what does all this world's tension nowadays do with us all? It distracts us. It separates us. It makes us ill. It leads us to suffering. It scares us, even scares us literally to death. This is why I don't show myself in person in my videos, but you still have my picture and my voice. Yes, you have at least a face. And yes, the picture you see in my videos is me. And yes, again, it is AI generated, but it is generally from my original picture. So stealing or copying, not allowed. Veto. No. Okay? Anyhow, now you can say, hey, why is this now no distraction? Hey, back. Well, this is now what you need to ask yourself. If you get distracted by something what you recognized on my picture, because those are your thoughts, and this is actually a good training to stay by yourselves, which affects and influences us all. And if you still don't understand anything, well, maybe you need time. Others maybe don't, because everyone is beautifully different. And hey, well, everyone needs to poo at the end of the day, right? Yeah, shit happens. But changes are part of the divine journey for healing, and it's the same with names too. See, when you are on your divine journey, aka on your way to your divine highest growth, aka version, you change necessarily by nature. And things don't fit or serve you anymore at one moment in time. So they change naturally. Because if you are awakened, and I guess you, my honey sparkles, are awake as well as you are here on my channel, you know when I'm saying you are light, holding energetic frequencies and codes within the, let's say, divine matrix. Like imagine a synaptic light dots in between a quantum network nudging each other to create and create and create, while ever and ever connecting to one another for good, and so getting ever and ever lighter and lighter, while just naturally becoming stronger and stronger. And each and every light dot holds an incredible amount of information, which naturally exchanges with the others as soon as they nudge to one another for good within the divine quantum network. So this we can see as the growing part. And as you are growing, your soul is automatically holding more and more codes, which we can see as the healing part. Why? Because with each nudge, we also, for ourselves, get answers with which we can work and heal. So the answers, or puzzle pieces, so to say, are finally finding their place to be until you again grow further and are able to close one more cases, so to speak, aka release which does not serve you anymore, which furthermore opens up space for new codes to sink in your vessel and permeate your soul. Yes, you are constantly moving through a variety of vast, ever-changing frequencies of multiple matrices and heal and heal and heal while you are journeying. Those who know me from my channels or in person know that many years ago, I myself had lost the ability to speak. I lost my voice, lost all the vocabulary of any languages I spoke back then. And I couldn't understand why that happened. As you can surely imagine, it was just a tough, fateful time. You know, I was a very fast speaker and complex thinker. Well, the complexities were still there. My brain, my hands worked and created further. They pushed me further, but I couldn't communicate vocally anymore. This was so annoying to me. One of the many lessons I learned from this was that if I had continued to be as fast as I was back then, I would have risked to miss some of you on my spiritual journey, even though my sense of righteousness, justice, and empathy were and are still pretty intense. My duty, aka my glorious purpose, was and still is to assemble all my sparkling peeps for good on my divine path to help us all improving our souls individually. Imagine the scene in the Forrest Gump movie in which Forrest just walked his path across the land. Okay, he didn't assemble on purpose. It just happened naturally, but this was his glorious purpose. All the other followers followed him voluntarily because they also felt something, maybe a call deep within. They walked alongside Forrest, but nevertheless for their individual purpose. Okay? And my duty was and still is kind of like that, because everything must come voluntarily and naturally from the very individual within of our very souls. Yes, I needed and wanted to start over and learn at least one language from the very scratch. Also, I needed to decide which language to prefer first. And even though I didn't know why that happened to me, I felt deeply within a mighty, vibrant calling, like kind of a calling from a crowd, a patience assembly, but more on a silent soul to soul level, which touched and shook my heart to its very core. I just knew I needed to prefer the English language first because of its accessibility to everyone. I mean everyone, yes. Also for our French babes, rumors go that they don't really want to speak English because they love their own language so much, but still, they understand it. Just kidding, all languages are beautiful and everything is all good. Speaking about access, nowadays we all have access to all sorts of tools and gadgets. In the matters of spirituality, aka as soon as we awake, we all somehow feel the need for proper protection because of all the confusion coming with that awakening. So most of us dive into diverse investigations about crystals, bowls, the occult, sacred geometry, chimes, oracle and tarot cards, herbs, rituals in general, so on and so forth. And where do we end up? We end up buying stuff, which seems as if they carry an urgency to be bought, sometimes even apparently according to spirituality. Maybe you recognized it. I'm not using and talking about that new age spirituality stuff. I am talking about the core, the ancient wisdom and knowledge coming from our very source. See, in fact, this new age spirituality is unfortunately only about marketing. And there are so many out there who fall for that and spend a huge amount of their money on that stuff, which is mostly not even real. For example, when we talk about crystals in particular. But good news, we have good news. You don't have to fall for that new age marketing stuff if you do your very own open-eyed proper investigation. Meaning, even though your awakening maybe is tough and rough and you most of the time feel literally dizzy, use your old and new awareness to just feel within what you really need or not. Okay? Not saying don't buy anything, just saying be careful with yourself because after being awakened, you are more vulnerable. Don't let your openness, your heart and soul be a target to some who do not mean well. Okay? And when you listen to your within only, you will deeply feel what you need. And so you will maybe buy something you not only feel the need for, but also feel cozy and happy with it. And when the time passes, you also will at some point in time recognize when whatever you bought doesn't serve you anymore. This is the moment in which you are perhaps going to slowly let go of things step by step. But this is a process everyone needs to go through individually because it is different for every soul. Long story short, the meaning of letting go of those tools is necessary because by letting go step by step, every step brings you one step closer to yourself, to your source, back to basics, which helps you then continuing to heal and so to achieve your highest version for good. Yeah, I had some stuff too, but I just bought very focused in the first place and only what called me or what I really felt. Nowadays, I don't have them anymore. I let them go in love and appreciation long time ago. Give them back to nature so they can rest safely in peace. Meaning you will feel and hear the callings. So it could be like this. Your eyes catch, for example, a beautiful little crystal, doesn't matter where, and you just immediately kind of fall in love with that crystal because of its form or the formation of colors, etc. Now, human beings generally tend to touch anything, right? So you look closer at the crystal your eyes have catched before. And you take it and hold it in your hand for a moment. But suddenly, instead of sensing a great comfort, the weight of this precious crystal seems to be burdened with heaviness, like as if you are holding a huge stone in your hand, while simultaneously a wave of estrangement washes over you. With that sensation, the chill of letting go sets immediately in. And so at the end, you put it back, wondering, at least at the beginning of your spiritual journey, you're wondering about what actually happened. This example is not only suitable for spiritual tools, but also for any other tool in general. This is why it is so important to just listen to yourself only, to use all your senses, not only your eyes. And as I always say, surrender to the divine flow and go with it as you flow. Okay? Not saying wander blindly around. No, no, no. Don't confuse that. Just saying be present in full awareness to not miss anything what needs your attention. Okay? Who knows? Maybe you learned something else, something very new from yourself, what was not available for you at all until now. Yet, as an example, you perhaps experience psychometric sensations. What is that? Psychometry is the spiritual art of soul reading through touch without being influenced by its physical form. For instance, reading memories of objects by soaking up, aka absorbing the vibrating energies. Very shortly explained, okay? Let's imagine a vintage watch, an old key or a picture. Doesn't matter which one you choose to imagine. They all are holding fingerprints and are connected to the divine matrix, which you then can read just by attention, not only touching the physical form, we are actually touching the spirit of a heartbeat, a soul's history, a whisper of a story that refuses to be forgotten, including all the emotional sensations which the item has soaked in, like a sponge, so to speak. And so we as readers give history which possibly was awaiting in silence for centuries. We give history a voice back, maybe, as we are entering a state of sensitive receptivity and act as a bridge in between the between, because nothing is truly lost. Think about the synaptic network light dots. We just need to connect and exchange information. This maybe can sound exciting. Yes, to be honest, it is, but be careful, especially at the beginning, because some information, some history can indeed overwhelm and shake you deeply. I recommend practicing by making teeny tiny baby steps to not get burned out from something that is not yours. Okay? Because at the very beginning, any energy, not only this specific energy, can easily be attached to you. And when you don't have proper practice and knowledge, you maybe have a hard time to cleanse and free yourself from those energies. So yes, it is beautiful to gift history with your own voice, but please do it with high awareness so that you feel safe and sound, okay? Yes, I am regularly practicing everything what you see and also not see. Anything that I have listed in my channel, trailers, for example, as well as which I don't have listed. It's all me until at one moment in time, maybe it is just only one channel to move on with. I don't know which one of my channels I perhaps will continue, or if I start a very new one with a new name, combining all, or I just continue to practice in person only without any tech. I just don't know. Let's see. But my sparkles, keep in mind that if I continue online, I'm not going to be on YouTube or anywhere else online constantly, which I already have mentioned in my announcements. Actually, I am highly busy, far aside from social media. This is why it not only seems like as if I'm a little creator, even though it's not true. I just don't have the time to non-stop create videos like others who do that as their main job. Because my main field is to practice in person. See, to create videos and technology itself is fine. But for me, it's honestly boring to only work on electronic devices, even though I appreciate the fact that some tech has finally arrived here on Earth. Look, I am a doer and creator of everything and nothing. So I am not okay with just and only creating videos on an electronic device, just for the sake of some algorithm, which is only, which is only created by human anyways. And I do not allow myself to get restricted by external somethings just for pleasing. No. And by the way, if I would do so, like let's say pro forma, this wouldn't be me. So of course, yes, for you, but no, not for the sake of any algorithm, okay? And if you know me, and you maybe have listened to my videos or at least announcements, you know what I am ever saying about that last hot shit thing in a matter of tech. Very shortly, this is not all last hot shit, and this annoys me, which is why I am bored about that tech on Earth. Yes, this is a fact which I do not like, and yes, of course, I appreciate it because it could have been worse. But no, I'm not satisfied by that tech here, which some forces try to sell us as the last hot shit. Well, I am accepting it, or to say it another way, I need to accept it because we have no other choice as long as we are lingering on this realm. It is as it is, okay? So let's do the best out of it, but only for good, even though it's annoying, okay? Only for good, not for the bad, only for good, okay? So as a doer, this annoying tech, or to be more specific, to permanently look at a device or some devices, is boring to me as well. Again, to be very clear about this, when I say it's boring to me, I don't picture technology as a bad thing in general. No. Technology and science are actually very good in their pure form. Technology itself can do so much good only when it's been properly used for good intentions and reasons. But I personally don't like the fact that real technology is being hidden by some forces who use those as weapons against humanity, while simultaneously selling it as an urgent need for the human being to be completed and fully efficient, like they do in the matter of AI, for instance. Drawing colorful screenplays of technology greatness, so to speak, picturing it as the savior of humanity, the redeemer of mankind. To what? To what? To awake at least your curiosity first, which should, at the end, sink in your mind and lead you to the feeling of dissatisfaction or even depression towards yourself, while they currently play their absurd act. The normal population still doesn't get any access to the real hidden technologies at all. Instead, people are ridiculously being labeled as silly and crazy if they dare to ask and go for it, just because some forces relentlessly hide and keep the truth for themselves only, no matter what. Which isn't and never can be their truth only. Truth and knowledge, listen, truth and knowledge belongs to everyone and is written within the divine matrix, which you can read as well, by the way, by linking in to the synaptic network. Let's see it like this. Here I am just talking for myself only, okay? In times in which I would just look into electronic devices which are running by 0 and 1 digits, I can do so much good for humanity directly in person. And this precious time would just run away from us all. So yes or no, however you want to see it, I will continue to create videos here and there, but I'm not willing to spend more time as needed for creating videos only. To be more transparent, I do everything by myself. I mean, absolutely everything. The translations, aka what you maybe know as readings, the lyrics, poetry, sketches, pictures, canvases, videos, editing, sound and picture, crafting, decoration, literally everything what you see and hear. And yes, it's my voice and no AI, all comes from me, my ancestors and highest spirit. So you can be sure that every word you hear comes from a soul whose heart is purely tuned to your flourishing. Because I love you, honey. I love you, my sparkling brothers and sisters. I really do. And if something is not from me, I credit it, like it should be for everyone. About that, I'm not going into detail right now because there's actually a part 1 of this series in which I already have dedicated a whole video for this. There we intensely talked about that topic, so you are very welcome to visit part 1 as well, if you will. But let's continue with part 2. So no, I don't have a production team whatsoever. I create, craft, and translate the messages coming through right away without script or screenplay. A spontaneous one-woman show, so to say, just flowing with the flow. Speaking about women, actually, I come from a long, very long ancestry line of very strong and independent women. Men as well, of course, but in my very ancestry line, women were the most influential and innovative. Remember the story of my silent time I previously told you about, in which I couldn't speak? In exactly this silent period, I remembered and reconnected to my ancestors and my source. Let me tell you one thing: nothing, no one, also no illnesses or issues can take away your source, aka ancestors, from you. Because it's you. You only have to remember. And if you do remember, I assure you everything will make sense. Everything will make suddenly sense, even though it can be tough and confusing. I will give you some examples about my badass granny and cuddly grams. From the time I myself had the luck to witness for good, just to make it more, let's say, touchy-feely for you, okay? So here we go. Why was my granny a tough badass? But hey, of course, in a freaking positive way, okay? Positive, just positive. Well, well, she was born in the 19th century, and she was, as a woman, way, way ahead of her time. Meaning she was mighty independent, because she, as an independent woman of her time, she ran her own self-made businesses. Yes, plural. Besides her business existence, she didn't decide to just do business stuff. No, she also decided to marry my most adorable, very silent, but very much knowledgeable cuddly grams, as well as build and grow a family with him. And she did so well, I can tell you, which I actually do. But she and her life's work deserve to be remembered, because she, as a sophisticated and progressive woman of her time, she still is a huge role model for every woman and individual who wants to be an independent soul, especially nowadays. Particularly these days, in which the world should be finally done with any kind of separation, we still witness that separation. Ridiculously more than ever and ever, by putting, for example, specifically AI in the front row for the goal of blinding the whole civilization, while simultaneously picturing the world as modern and developed. In fact, it isn't. Remember the last hot shit thing in the matter of tech? It's just the same. Okay? Isn't it tremendously ridiculous to know that centuries and centuries ago, there were strong, independent women, such great role models, super intelligent and beautiful women who ruled the man's world, and yet currently witnessing how the world literally rolls back with some strange as well as often disastrous opinions, forcing women and individuals to shut their souls down. That's ridiculous. That's so pointless. That's why we lose our very own individuality. That's why everything looks the same. That's why everyone, with little exceptions, lives the same separated life. That's why there are no new ideas, or to be more specific, that's why ideas of individuals are immediately getting violently attacked, so on and so forth. And that's why I myself and healers are there to support. Coming back to my badass granny, you know, she was a landlady who managed her variety of business branches and huge properties herself as well, together alongside with her crew of also very cool, strong women. And if some women needed help, she supported them respectfully on their way to their very own female mightiness. Of course, of course, there were some men as well, especially on her yards and farms, but they they didn't try to mess with my granny. Just never. To make it clear, she was not arbitrary, definitely not. She always was just. But if someone really tried to mess with her because they thought that she is an easy game, just because of her female existence, they very fastly got their life lessons as well as their rememberable reason why they would never do it again. Okay? For some, this all can sound as if she was a pure workaholic and just worked only for money. No, of course she worked for a living, for sure, no doubt here. But for her, her business was not money, money, money. It was pure herself, her life elixir, her pure passion. She always kept putting so much passion and love into everything what she did, and what she did was remarkable. So, no, she didn't separate her crew from her family no matter what. Her crew was her family as well. She was kind of everyone's mother, and this is why she was so into it. She sided with a mother's heart and loved with a mother's soul, and so showed within her time period how everything is possible as long as you stay truthful. Meaning she was a protector too. But all in all, in a nutshell, she was not only a badass businesswoman, she was a wife, aka spouse, a mother, a granny, a caretaker, an educator, a teacher, an employer, an alchemist, a herbalist, a healer and medicine woman, a life consultant, and kind of a psychiatrist. And she had a great humor, and she was a movie nerd. She was so a movie nerd. Remember the cat example? My granny also knew when to work and when to spend time with her loved ones. Told ya? We can learn so much from our ancestors, as well as also from animals and nature in general. We just need to look open-heartedly. But honestly, I don't know how she put all this in her, let's say, daily calendar. But what I know is, at least what I have witnessed, was that she never was stressed out or did things in a hurry. She proceeded swiftly, but mindfully and focused without any rush or stress. What a lesson, right? Nowadays, we hardly can imagine that's actually working, but it does. It still does. We just have forgotten how because of the massive external pressure we experience since a long time on this earth. We got programmed by our environment to not only be mighty efficient, but to push and push and push us through sometimes dangerous situations just to please others. And throughout time, we more and more forget our divinity. We forget ourselves. We forget that we have to love, respect, and heal ourselves first. No, no, not on an egoistical way. No. If you think that ego way, ideally recommend to check your programming, aka thoughts, because this possibly means that the external program you got imprinted still works, but it works for others, not for you. It doesn't serve you, right? It doesn't support you on your very journey. On the very contrary, thoughts run by ego, especially ego and greed of others, are pushing you back every time it rears its head. Okay? So check it. I recommend. Let's create a tiny scenario. Imagine you are on your very own personal path and you are strongly making progress. But suddenly, out of nowhere, your ego kicks in. Now imagine that this ego is tied to an invisible elastic cord, forcefully holding you back. But it doesn't just hold you back. Each and every moment in which your ego sets in, the cord bounces you far, far back, even though you strongly had already come so far. And this is what we definitely not want. Nope, nope, nope. We don't want to start over and over and over again just because of some stoic ego. No, we don't. And as you are hearing these words, again, maybe, I am sure you now, at this point in time, you surely get why I am so over with that last hot shit tech and other things which are annoying me deeply to my core. Oi, what a tribute to my granny, right? But fits perfectly, just as silent as my Gramps was, just as much I have talked about my granny so far. Now it's Gramps time. Since I shortly mentioned him, he was a very silent and calm, but extraordinarily knowledgeable soul and the most cuddly human being. Imagine him like the most wise knowledge keeper in his time, with the greatest collection of written knowledge, all stacked in his personal realm of an atmospheric library, just like we sometimes see in movies, but way more mystical and real. Not scripted, real. And those were not only some in books or so. He himself also downloaded and translated wise ancient knowledge and visions into ever-existing words and sketches, as well as manifested those onto multiple pieces of parchment, aka a variety of books. Okay? Strength in silence. Ever heard of that? That's my Gramps. When he didn't spend time in his ancient library, he sat calmly on his floor cushion in his little corner in the living room, observing and appreciating his family and the beautiful share and exchange of funny little moments in which every now and then a satisfying smirk appeared on his face. But all this, Mahani Sparkles, still in silence. Beautifully still in silence. Silence because he could appreciate all the moments in the calmest state of soul and body. Strength because he was wise enough to support his family and his dearest spouse, especially in times in which being a hard-working and tough businesswoman was not usual, but rather very dangerous and hard to accomplish. Yes, he was also mighty ahead of his time, like my granny was, and through his open-minded, calm character, he was happy about her taking the lead and supported this in all aspects of female empowerment, which was, not to forget, also very risky for a man's reputation in the 19th century. As I said, he held and kept an infinite amount of knowledge and was wise enough to stand his and her ground when needed. Okay? And this, my sparkles, is an example of my granny representing the strong feminine, the strong divine feminine, and my Gramps, the brave but silent divine masculine, unconditionally supporting each other. But heads up, not saying that you can only be a divine feminine or divine masculine when you get married or with a partner. No. If you catch yourself thinking like that, let it go. Don't confuse your beautiful soul with such unnecessary thoughts. Light up your unique heart and free your soul from that kind of weight you are not meant to carry. Okay? You are not meant to carry that weight. Because it's not about having a partner at all. No. It's just and only about reaching the highest version of yourself within or on your very own divine journey, which is in general a way of solitude anyways. Remember the healing yourself first part we previously talked about? That it is. The truth is, loneliness is a necessary part of your divine journey. So you don't have to be scared about being and staying alone for an unknown long time at the first place. Listening to your own thoughts, observing your own sensations, linking into your own matrix, feeling into your longings, appreciating your own silence, loving your own existence, doesn't matter what. Being tender to your heart and soul, figuring out what does not serve you at all or anymore, and let them peacefully go. And so to free yourself from what isn't yours. Open your soul up for new divine codes to sink in and to permeate your mind, vessel, and soul with light for the sake of healing. Okay? Only for the sake of healing yourself for the highest good. You see, the connection to my ancestry line, especially the connection to my granny and my grams, because of the direct recall, helped me through my very intense heart awakening time. And this time, my sparkles, was not a regular awakening. That was kind of an earthquake from within. But this quake was necessary to shake all old off. Remembering my granny and what she stands for helped me and my soul to remember my true gifts and for which purpose I need to use them for. But not only that, remembering through her and my grams helped me to travel through time and space, and so to meet as well as get to know my ancestors down to the roots and beyond its core. Yeah. This meet and greet, however, helped me to understand my OG lineage, aka family in which I was born in, meaning I finally understood the behavior and opinions of my parents and siblings, etc. To give you a tiny and very personal glimpse into my family and what I mean by this. My mom, for instance, always kept saying that I was not planned and that I just came, kind of like as if I was an uninvited guest who stays forever, and she often behaved according to her saying, which I never understood. But she kept saying that throughout decades. Yeah, of course, that hurt me deeply. But good news. At one moment in time, after more than 3 decades or so, I catched a tiny momentum of my mom, in which I randomly found myself in an enlightening situation that finally brought me inner peace. Without going into very detail, I immediately knew that I needed to hear something importantly life-changing. This is one of the many points why I keep saying stay aware. Be open-minded and open-hearted. Use all your senses. Stay kind, calm, and brave so that you don't miss a moment of significance. Okay? That's very important. Not saying go and listen to others and believe it all right away. No, no, no. Just saying observe and surrender to the divine, because Spirit will show you things when the time is right and you are ready. And then at the end, it's on you to make sense out of it and hopefully peace. Okay, as we are steadily coming to the end of this video, nevertheless, I will craft something for us all. At least at the end of the day, for the higher, greater divine good. Remember, videos come out when they come out in the most flowy way as the energy flows. But I don't pre-schedule them years, months, or weeks ahead. But I can assure you that when I upload videos, doesn't matter in which area, I, with high awareness and authenticity, take care of my content to be carried to you, first of all, on the fundament of love and empathy, but also within the best of my knowledge and the best of my skills, including occult knowledge, practices, ancient wisdom, scientific, celestial, and clairvoyant facts, astrology, the paranormal, psychology, poetic arts, and all the way through spirituality and more, with truth, justice, ethics, and humanity. You know, truth be told, honestly, when my time here on earth is at one moment in time over, I will not leave this realm by knowing that I had spent my time just staring at a screen ran by digits. The screen, my honey sparkles, is in my head, my mind, and my soul. And I love to show you the merged screenplay if you are ready for it, because this is why I am here. However, as always, bye-bye. Love you lots.